Right, so today we're going to talk about how atmospheric conditions can affect your photographs. Hi guys, so welcome back to the channel. This is Dylan Golby, photographer here in Seoul again. A little while back I posted a video with my bud Roy, and we were down on the Han River in Seoul shooting through some of the worst air pollution we've had in a while, and it reminded me of something that I always look for when I'm out photographing in the early morning or the late evening, and that is atmospheric conditions. Now, different particle matter, I guess, in the atmosphere, things like pollution, like dust, like smoke, all of these things can cause light to scatter in really interesting ways and create some interesting mood and depth in your photographs. So let's explore a few images that I've shot over the years that all have this one thing in common, and that is that there's something in the atmosphere that isn't normally there. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a small village called Longwa in Nagaland in India, and we're so high up at this point that we're actually in the clouds for a good portion of the day. And so as the clouds blow through, we sort of go in and out of this sort of misty, hazy world where we can't see anything outside. And every time that the clouds did come in, we'd sort of jump and shoot a time lapse or shoot some images around the village or try and get an overall look at the village. So if you can ever get up to Nagaland in summer, I do recommend getting up there. It's muddy, it's kind of difficult to get up there at that time because of all the rain, but it's constantly beautiful like this. So let's take a look at a couple of other images from there. Okay, so this is in Nagaland again, and this is very early morning. I'd headed out because I was waiting for everybody else to wake up for breakfast, and I thought, yeah, I might be able to get some shots in this hazy, misty morning. And I happened upon these two farmers who were just coming back from getting wood to light their fires for the day. And I thought this is the perfect photograph of basically what their lives are like. You can't see more than a few meters in front of you as you go out to harvest your firewood in the morning. So I thought that was pretty representative of where they were. Another one, this is some more farmers. They're actually headed down, this is Longwa village again. They're headed down the road into Myanmar from the India border. And they're basically just, yeah, taking their goods out to go farming again. And as you can see, you've got these trees that are a bit closer in the foreground. They're sort of a little bit hazy. The tree in the background here is extremely hazy, and the foreground is very, very high contrast. So these layers are what you can create with these atmospheric effects. So let's move on to the shot that actually inspired the creation of this video, and that is a shot of the underside of the Mapo Bridge in Seoul. This is the bridge that was actually used in the Avengers film a few years back. On this particular day, my friend Roy Cruz and I were getting ready to film a video on the wide-angle lens selection for the Fuji X system, and we'll link that here for you. But when we arrived, the air pollution was that bad that we couldn't see the other side of the river. Yeah, so as we were getting ready to sort of test the lenses and talk about them a little bit, we decided to make a few frames because it was a pretty interesting light that we had there. So this is kind of early morning over the river here, and what you see again is just that gradual fade off of contrast. So the foreground is quite high contrast, the background is quite low contrast, and it gives you that sense of depth. This time it's not fog or clouds causing this. This is actually man-made pollution. So if you're in a city with sort of bad air quality, this can be a really good time to shoot. So in a shot like this, where I'm looking across the river, so those buildings in the background there are about 1.5 kilometers away, and the gentleman walking across the front of the frame is actually maybe 15 or 20 meters from me, you're able to actually see that huge difference in visibility through that contrast and really make him stand out in your picture. So with those previous two images, you can see that the first one, I gave it a warmer color balance and a little bit of a color grade to make it look a little bit more inviting. And in the second one, I've left it a little bit more true to life. So you can see that there's a huge color difference between things that are close to you and things that are seen through that haze as well. So in this next image, we're going to look at how dust can affect the photograph. And again, it's the same thing. You're going to get a separation via a loss of contrast as things get further away. But here, what you're able to see is that I've backlit that situation, and so it's very, very clear. All that dust is being lit up, and it gives this nice sort of warm feeling, despite the fact that we could barely breathe because the air was so full of dust. Now, it did take us quite a bit to actually clean our lenses after this as well, but it resulted in some pretty nice photographs. So what you can see here is the two girls in the foreground are quite high contrast again. The girls in the back are a little bit lower contrast, and you can see the girl in the middle, she's blocking the sunlight, so you actually get this sort of beam of light, and we'll look at that again in just a moment. And then the people in the background, I mean, there's just no detail in them anymore. So using backlight with atmospheric effects can make really, really dramatic images. Okay, so this is what I was talking about in the previous image. What you have here is some backlight coming through an atmospheric effect again. In this case, it's the smoke of cooking fires in the early morning of village life in Myanmar. And basically, if you didn't have trees and things in here, this would just become a lit up sort of smoggy feel like we had in the images of Seoul. But what we do have is some very direct light coming through trees, and trees have, you know, branches and leaves that will block portions of the light and allow you to get these rays coming through the smoke. And as we know with village life, people start the day pretty early, and so it was quite easy to find some subjects in this village to be able to make an image that wasn't just rays coming through smoke, but it had some sort of storytelling element about the village as well. Now, of course, there is software out there that can recreate this sort of thing now in a sort of a cheesy way where it wouldn't normally be, but I recommend getting out there and trying this stuff. If you ever see some smoke in the air early in the day or late in the day, it's a lot of fun to try and create these sort of effects yourself. Right, so what you're seeing here is a shot from the temple plains in Bagan in Myanmar, and here you're seeing a very similar effect. You've got some fog from the early morning, you've also got a lot of dust being kicked up by farmers, and you have, of course, the cooking fires being lit in the villages around, and that gives you a huge loss in contrast as things get further away from the camera, and you get these beautiful layers of temples and trees, and of course the hot air balloons go up in the morning, and then you have the, you know, farmer in here, and it's a really beautiful scene to shoot. Now, unfortunately, they don't let you go up on the temples anymore. That may come back in, I'm not sure, but at the moment it's sort of all under restoration. But if you do get a chance to go down there, even if you can get just a few meters off the ground somewhere, it's absolutely beautiful. Okay guys, thanks again for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel. We'll have new content every Wednesday for you. Leave a comment below, ask any questions you might have, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.